Welcome to Heart. I'm your host, Lee So-jung. For those of you who may be trying to come up with a New Year's resolution, we have invited someone who is going to help you out with it. Our guest today is someone whose beginning was humble and yet was still able to achieve the highest level of success. His story is truly inspirational. We're very thrilled to have him join us today. Please welcome Chairman Steve Kim. For joining us. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Steve Kim is a Korean businessman who is known as the Bilgeits of Asia. He personified the rags to riches story of the American dream, and now he devoted his life to giving hope and challenges to young students through his scholarship foundation, the Dream, Hope, and Future Foundation. Let's meet Chairman Steve Kim on today's Heart to Heart. Thank you very much for joining us today. I would guess that this time of the year is probably the busiest time for you, and you've been giving a lot of lectures to people, especially young students.
Yes.
When you have your lecture, what's your first sentence that you say to your audience?
Well, it depends on where I go and who I met, but you know, I'm trying to say, I came here to really make you happy. Happy, I'll try to give you my best so that you can really enjoy your time here with me.
Now, you're described as many Korean medias as the Bilgeits of Korea. And you've heard that phrase a lot.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Well, I really had took a while to accept that kind of praise. But, of course, it's very hard to get compared with the Bilgeits from the size point of view, what he accomplished. But if you look at it from the other way, and, he was an entrepreneur and actually did it as a home, the home yard, backyards. And he got a lot of support from his parents.
Right.
But for me, I went to the totally new place as a foreigner.
Right.
And no money, didn't know anybody, no support. And I really did it from the ground. And I really didn't, build the one successful company. I actually did two. So from that sense of it, I think I really done fairly well.
Well, literally, to a lot of Korean people, you are the symbol of American dream come true. Let's talk about that story.
Sure.
You went to the States in 1976. You were in your early 20s. You just had graduated from Korean college.
Yes.
And served 2 years in Korean military.
Yes.
Why did you decide to go to the States? Because you could have found a decent job in Korea.
Well, one thing, I really didn't study hard. I wasn't a good student. And actually busy doing other things. So when I graduated and after served the army, I couldn't really apply for good jobs to say. There was actually many good jobs anyway. So the only way to overcome that was to really go to the States.
That kind of comes to me as a surprise because you literally went to one of the best colleges in Korea, Seogang University.
Yes.
And still yet you say that it was difficult for you to find a job after graduating that
because
school.
I didn't study much at all. I really didn't like it, and so I just did what I like to do, play tennis and date with the girls and, and all that.
Did you have anyone in the States? Maybe, is that why you sort of conceived this American dream?
Yes, my parents were there and, my sisters were there. So I could actually, immigrate to the States.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about the first day you arrived in the States.
Well, of course, lots of worries and concerns and, how could I survive and all that. And probably took 2-3 weeks. And my brother-in-law actually introduced me to big warehouse, auto parked warehouse. And it was very laborious and very hardworking.
Yeah.
I never done it.
Physically
Making like about
tiring,
$275 an hour and work whole day pretty much. And after a little while, I says, I cannot do this forever, so what else I can? And the only thing I could do is to actually enter into the college at night. And I set a goal saying, hey, I gotta do no matter what it takes. Be an engineer. That was my first American dream.
Okay. Then once you became an engineer, why did you think of an idea to have your own company? Why did you feel that kind of necessity? Because you could have just stayed as an engineer and belonged to a company, perhaps?
Well, I had lots of curiosity by nature. So I was interested in what other competitors are doing. So I looked, I got hold of their brochures or specs and kind of compare with what I was doing. No one asked for it. I didn't even know about the creating a new business or, any of those. But in a couple of years, the idea struck me saying, I may be able to build a little better product than the competitors, right? Then I knew about how the business is being run, and I had a strong desire saying, wow, what about if I just do my own, right? Once I had that feeling, strong, desire, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's why I started. And it was just such a bold move.
Yeah.
And if I knew what the business is all about, probably I could never start it.
Okay.
That made me where I am.
And what do you think is the secret to your success? What are tell us some of the elements, because it can't be just one.
I'm a good learner. I'm not afraid to ask.
Okay.
And I think I have a very good common sense, because you run into so many different things, situations you run into. Somehow you're the leader, you have to be able to, assess the environments and be able to quick decision and making a move. And probably I was just good at that, making good, tough decisions. And sometimes I find next day, I made the wrong decision, and I, bring the people up and say, I'm really sorry, I made a mistake here. So I know how to, admit myself and my mistakes. And probably there are many others, but I always try to persuade them. I like to show them by example. If they work 8 hours, probably I work 12, 14 hours.
Okay.
And when I, eat same food, same hotel, I always travel on the third class. You know how hard it is. When I travel 50% of my time on the air and go to, travel abroad. And so I really try to show example and make sure so that they follow me. Right? And so I think they really all devoted.
Okay.
Right? With heart.
Well, let's take a short break here and take a look at our first video that we put together with your previous pictures, and let's talk more over the video.
Okay.
Was this taken a while ago, or?
Well, it was 1998. The French company Alcatel. He's the chairman, and he's the chairman with the IBM. We're making, the OEM, the contracts with them. So probably this is 1996, something like that. This is where I was running at the. Probably xylan. Yeah. North Korea several times, and they asked me to help so that they could really repair those old ships. So I provide some funds for that. I always had a lot of concerts at home and invite a lot of guests and it's most fascinating things.
And soprano Cho Soo-mi was...
Soo-mi, and I got to know her when I was in L.A. This is what I took it at the Najin with the North Korean Ajumoni or Harmony, his old lady. And this is the station I built for them. Yes.
Okay.
This is with the workers at the Korean bread factory in North Korea. So...
Yeah, you're the only one smiling in this photo. They're all expressionless.
These photos, I actually went to the Hwanghae province, and there's little kids. About 5,000 kids were there. So I sent about 5,000, pairs of clothing. And this is the Nepal. And we built the little library up in about 2,700 meters high. And there's a little ceremony. Actually giving a lecture at Pyongyang. There's a Pyongyang University. And this is North Korean students. And I can only speak lectures in English. You're not allowed to speak in Korean. Yeah, I did a lot of mentoring, and we can call it a vision talk. And it's one of the photos I'm making speeches. And
this was taken at one of the leadership
classes
that you had
at the graduation ceremony. Honorary PhD at Sagang. This is a gathering for the scholarship, the
organization
students,
that you have built. In the beginning of our interview, I introduced to our audience saying that you are someone who made American dream possible. You went to the States with $2,000 in your pocket, but you came back with $2 billion. So there's the two in the front stay the same, but zero, lots of zero came along. How did it change your life? Or it didn't change your life?
First of all, let me correct that. We sold the company at $2 billion. It's not all my money.
Okay.
There were investors and employees and all this. I took a big portion of it, but it's not $2 billion. Yeah, after, sold that, I didn't have to worry about money, right? That's really good things. So, that's why, I had bought a big house, and I traveled in first class, and, bought a golf course. I just did all that. And, that was fun, first of all. But after all, you've done it, I realized that the money or success necessarily bring you the happiness, right? And I was just really having, too much time to spare. And I was miss something about, getting something accomplished, doing something right, okay? So having fun with the money, it doesn't give me, the satisfaction. Yeah. So I kind of felt the emptiness of my heart, and I'm really looking for something, for passion. So where I can find a passion, third startups, no, you won't. You can't find it. So it took me a while to really find that.
And you decided to come back to Korea. Is that why?
For that reason.
For that reason, to find inner peace and happiness.
That's right.
Okay, let's talk about the organization that you made when you arrived here then. The Dream, Hope and Future Foundation.
Yes.
You established it in 2001.
Yes.
And that was when you still lived in the States.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's tell us about that foundation then.
Well, because, I noticed that in many Americans, set up their own foundation.
Right.
Because I think the difference from Americans and Koreans, when they money, they're all trying to, inherit all their fortune to their kids, children. But in America, very few does that. Right. And they may give a little, but the rest of them, they set up a foundation and try to use it for good purpose and charity. I've seen them doing it. And so I said, wow, that's the right thing. So I gave a very little for children. And, set up a foundation. So once you set a foundation, it's not your money. And it's the money I earn very hard, so I want to make sure that it get utilized properly while I'm alive, right? So in 2001, after I started the company, I had a chance to visit, and I said, well, since I was born in Korea, and I don't know, I thought the money could be spent better here. And look around, what's the best? Then I thought, money could be probably utilized best and most effectively supporting the students. Like me, they're growing up in a poor family. Sometimes they don't even have parents A lot of them are single parents or no parents. And they have a strong desire to wish their dream. But, for their entry and, the getting into the college, it's too much money for them. So they could just give it up. In those days, there are much scholarship, much at all. So, wow, I found that this is what really the money could be spent best, right? Helping these children. So I set up the office in here, and we start doing that. We set up an office in China, in Yanbian, doing that. So since then, now we have about 650 students. We're still doing that over 10 years.
Wow.
And, providing scholarship. But it's not just a one-time scholarship. Once I find them, and I'm going to make sure that, guide them through properly and until they really graduate the college and find their job. So once I study, some of them take 6-7 years. I have to provide them the kind of financial support.
And along with it, the Dream, Hope, and Future Leadership Center was also built.
Yes.
Is that something that goes along with your philosophy, of course?
Well, it's a little different because even though I was providing scholarships and I go to the North Koreas and doing a lot of the philanthropic work and looking for ways to spend my money wisely. And, then a professor suggests me write a book for, the students or for younger people because when they were asked who's your mentor, or they're always looking for Bilgeates or Steve Jobs, and the person thought I could be the one. And so, I written a book called Dream, Hope, Future. Probably you have it on your hands. Yes. And once it get published, and I get, a lot of the requests for making lectures in many different places. So I'm giving encouragement speech and motivational speech and, and make sure they having fun with it too. But I felt it wasn't enough. So I know the kids in here. I told about many Korean, they don't know how to speak up, ask questions, or how important that is in the real world, in a competitive world, or, global world. So I think those are so important for them, to be able to express themselves and also giving a lecture, have the confidence and, do what you like to do, find the passions and do what you like to do, think who you are and, what you are good at and what you want to be. And there's a lot of things I talk about it but for them to be able to make their own is not easy. It's very difficult for just 2-hour lectures.
Right.
So I just say we set a leadership program so that they could be trained for 3 days.
I see.
So if there's 30 students in a school, they ask us, we're about 3 or 4 instructors and coaches go there, right? And spend 3 days together. And over 3 days, they become a different person because they always be asked to come out, introduce themselves, and find out what's in the head and draw it and be able to share with other friends. So we go through that repetitive process with their participation. They get to, go through, the different person. So that's what we're doing.
That kind of aspect is required in any field, actually.
Every
no matter
field.
what
Students
you like to become,
and even others, and so now we're providing the same kind of leadership class for school teachers because kids are changing it, and if the school teachers don't change, right?
There's a gap between them.
Huge gaps in between, so they realize they're doing it. So this is a real business, and we have about a little over 30 people in there. We're busy hiring because there's so many demands demands for that. So just like a business. So I'm busy hiring, supporting, and I'm doing marketing because when I go out to lectures in the schools, I tell them about the importance of this, the leadership camps and all that.
We wanted to catch a glimpse of your lecture, so we sent the camera to follow you when you gave the lecture too. So let's take a look at our second video.
Sure.
So this is one of the high schools that you
Yeah, I just probably went there about a couple of weeks ago.
They're so enthusiastic, aren't they, the kids?
Well, in kids, they are actually the senior at their high school. They just finished their SAT or the Suno, and they're all exhausted. All look exhausted.
Really?
I really feel sorry for them, and look terrible in a way. I don't find the energies and passions and. But if I go to suburban, countryside, they're much enlightening and have a lot more curiosities.
Did you have like a question and answer time with the students?
Of course.
What kind of questions?
No, I threw a lot of questions.
Oh, I see.
And when they, answer that, I give them books.
Yeah. What question did you ask them?
Well, like the questions is, what's the global man? The necessity of being a global person, leader.
새로운 느낌의 강연이었고요. 많은 걸 배울 수 있었어. 좋았어요.
강연을 통해서 다시 제가 다양한 활동을 해야 하고 제 꿈을 위해서 달려야겠다라는 원동력이 되었던 것 같습니다.
희망과 꿈을 주는 그런 일을 저도 한번 해보고 싶어서 참여해서 다시 만나뵐 수 있었으면 좋겠습니다.
두두두 액션.
스티븐 선생님 화이팅!
And for this 3-day leadership training, what do they usually go through?
Well, there's a lot of activities, but very little lecturing, but they help them participate. So if 30 of them, voluntarily they have to come out and introduce themselves. Voluntarily they talk about what they accomplished in the past. Voluntarily they have to come out and, reveal their pains, right? And this is after 3 days, the graduation ceremony. They talk about what they learned, how they changed their life, and very few students know how to do that. After 3 years, they can speak up in front of people. That's a big change.
자신감이다. 도전이다. 용기이다.
It's the end of the ceremony. They talk about what's the beautiful future is all about.
Now, when you think of leadership, then, because when I think of leadership, I think of so many different types of leadership.
Sure.
Let's say some people are very warm. They're just born with this warm energy. When this person walks into a space, I can feel that, oh my gosh, he's got such a warm aura about him. When you think of your own leadership, do you think you're like charismatic, very down to business, or would you say you're more tuned to warm family-like?
Warm family-like
leadership.
And, I don't say, I don't know how to whip them, and, down to earth, and just make them feel, and try to move their heart, right?
When we took a look at this video of
Sure.
how the leadership camp was prepared, it just looks like it's a lot of fun. There are a lot of
so
games
much fun,
to participate
and
in.
they think it's 3 days way too short. They never this much fun, but toward the end of it, and they're really, they cry a lot. They hugging each other and they patting each other, and they become a really good friends, right? And this is probably the cure for everything. Today is what you're facing at the school and everywhere.
Let's go back and talk about your foundation again, the Dream, Hope, and Future Foundation. How many, you said about more than 600 students have been the recipients of?
No, probably total about 1,800. And out of that, about 500 graduated already.
Okay.
and I got a job somewhere. And today we support about 650 students. So we keep refurbishing each year.
If there's any one student that has a special memory in your heart, who would that be?
Well, there's so many of them, but at least I can tell you that I very recently I appreciate her wedding. And,
wow!
I probably known for about 9 years, and she was we start pick them when they're like in junior in high school. So she was actually became a nurse, very good nurse, and met with the right person, and I appreciate meeting the wedding very recently. And her name is Seulgi Jung.
Okay. Well, we have another video to show to our audience, and let's take a look at what this video is.
Okay, sure.
Looks like he works at Yongin Severance Hospital.
I think I know him.
He's a doctor now.
Yes.
And you recognize him?
Yes.
Yeah.
이 사장님, 얼마 전에도 말씀 나눴던 거 기억하실 텐데요. 제가 지금 이렇게 병원에서 일하고 있고 제 꿈이었던 의사로서 이렇게 활동하고 있는 게 이 사장님의 도움이 아니었으면 불가능했을 겁니다. 고등학교 때부터 이제 의사가 되기로 생각을 하고 경제적으로도 부담이 많이 된다는 걸 알고 있던 그런 상황에서 제가 장학재단의 장학생으로 선발이 되고 그래서 그 비싼 의과대학 등록금을 큰 걱정 없이 졸업까지 잘 할 수 있게 해주시고 늘 더 도전하고 희망을 가지고 일하라고 그렇게 말씀해 주셨던 게 정말 큰 힘이 돼서 저도 이 사장님처럼 큰 사람이 돼서 남을 돕는 그런 입장이 있고 싶습니다. 늘 건강하시고요. 지금 모습처럼 늘 장학생들에게 꿈과 희망을 주시고 건강한 모습으로 훌륭하신 일 계속 지속해 주시길 바라겠습니다.
How do you feel when you see your students grow into an important figure in the society? How does that make you feel?
Well, I feel grateful. I really think I'm doing the right thing.
항상 노력하고 본인이 궁금해하는 것에 대해서 끊임없는 열정과 그런 탐구 정신을 가지고 열심히 일하는 모습을 볼 수 있었고 동료들이나 아니면 환자들에게 친절하게 설명해주고 서로 이제 토론하고 그런 분위기를 이끌어가는 모습에서 항상 그렇게 성실하고 이제 노력하는 모습을 보여주시는 선생님이라고 생각합니다.
우리 장학재단의 가장 큰 장점이라고 한다면 바로 장학생들 간의 그 끈끈함이라고 생각을 하는데 서로가 정말 남이지만 우리 장학재단이라는 이름 아래에서 서로 같은 장학생이고 그것만으로도 서로에게 어떻게 하면 도움을 줄 수 있고 조언을 줄 수 있을지 고민하고 있는 그런 장학생 선배들이 있기 때문에 언제라도 저희가 질문을 받고 도움을 줄 준비가 되어 있습니다. 연락을 해주시고 만나서 얘기하고 싶고 그리고 도움을 많이 주고 싶으니까 늘 이렇게 도와줄 수 있고 조언을 해줄 수 있는 그런 이사장님과 선생님들, 선배들이 있다는 걸 기억하고 힘내서 노력하고 그래서 여러분들의 꿈 이뤄서 장학재단의 자랑스러운 장학생으로 제2의 스티브 김이 되시길 기도하겠습니다.
This is when you went to this person's wedding.
Well, actually, was asked to officiate it.
이 사장님은 2002년도부터 제가 꿈희망미래재단을 통해서 만났고요. 그때부터 많이 도움을 주셨고 정신적이며 물질적이며 많이 도움을 주셔서 이 자리까지 오게 된 것 같아서 존경하는 분으로서 주례를 부탁드리게 됐습니다.
Seulgi Jung is a very special person, one of my scholarship recipients. So I was very happy to,
That's the most important day in your life, and you were part of it.
Sure. I want to make sure that they really have a happy life. To be happy, they have to try really hard, put their best effort, and that has the utmost importance for their life, nothing else. And they have to be shared, the love, happiness, sadness, and everything together. And it's not easy. It's not an easy task. But those things I kind of emphasize them. They should be really well ready for the wedding.
Like Dr. Kim Gi-yeon just said, I think it's amazing how your helping hand through the foundation didn't stop there, but the recipients within the foundation, they're creating their own energy to reach out and help other students as well. Sure. That's amazing.
That was a spirit of the in our foundation.
Yeah, so. It's amazing. I mean, it keeps on growing.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When we sent our camera to have an interview with student recipients, they actually asked. They wanted to ask you a few questions as well. So let's see what those questions are.
Okay, let's do that.
안녕하세요, 이사장님. 저는 정선순입니다. 이사장님 오늘 뵙게 돼서 너무 반가웠습니다. 질문이 하나 있는데요. 성공하기 전과 성공하기 후에 행복의 가치가 달라졌는지가 참 궁금하거든요. 왜냐하면 성공하기 전에는 성공해야만 행복하다고 생각하는데요. 성공하기 전과 후에 지켜야 할 그런 행복의 가치는 무엇인지가 궁금한데요. 꼭 알려주세요.
이사장님 안녕하세요. 재단 장학생 양현태입니다. 제가 궁금했던 점은 이사장님께서 미국에서도 큰 사업을 엄청나게 하셨고 그리고 한국에서도 국내외에서 재단 장학 사업을 크게 하고 계신데 많은 사람들을 만나셨잖아요. 인간관계에서 가장 중요하다고 생각하시는 점이 무엇인지 되게 궁금합니다. 알고 싶어요.
Those are two tough questions, I would say. The first one was, were there any difference?
Of course, I think there's
the definition of happiness.
Big difference, and I don't know when you're really running toward the end of the goal or just going through the deep end of the tunnel. You don't know where it's going to be ended. So you're concerned about how it's going to be ended. There's more concern, or you're afraid of things than happy ending. You all hope for it, but once you achieve that, the goal you wanted. All right, successful conclusions. And of course, life is joyful, and oh my goodness, we're really happy. But again, after that, how I can stay happy is just another huge challenge, right? And now you have to go for totally different, start all over again, because unless you keep continuing business, right, I have to find happiness from somewhere else. And probably I struggled through for another 10 years before I find that.
Wow.
Because, of course, I had a luxury house, parties, travels, and all that. I just couldn't feel the kind of similar challenges and, accomplishments, and I was just feel empty and feel lonely too. So I think just finding things, just like today, I feel I'm most happy because there's, I'm asked for to come. I've been utilized in many ways. I think I'm doing, a lot of valuable things, helping children. Leadership Center is keep expanding and doubling the size every year. So, but the difference is, accomplishing greater deal. Probably I influence, a lot more. And but at the same time, I really enjoying it. There's not much stress than I had it while I was really running the business. So, I think happiness is something you always have to work hard to get it.
Okay, so it just doesn't come to you.
No,
we have to work at it to get it.
All the time, every day, right?
That's very important.
Yeah.
Wow. Would you say happiness is within or outside?
Well, I think come from outside. Of course, you have to feel it, that you are doing something right. And it has to give you a satisfaction. because your time has to be spent properly, effectively, and you're happy with the results. Okay.
Okay. The second question was, what do you think is the most important thing in people relationships?
I think and treating them with good faith and gain trust each other and be honest each other and be able to, speak up and show expressions. And if there's a little, you know about the give and takes, and you're giving this much, and you like to get a little bit back like this, make you happy, right? So giving back each other, and I think you making, make you happy.
Okay, so communicating with others.
Sure, communicating with truth.
With truth, right. On our talk show, we have a segment called The Treasure of My Life, when we ask our guests to bring what they treasure in their lives. And you brought something very special in the studio.
Sure.
I wonder what that is.
All
we can't
right.
wait. Let's have it bring out. I wonder what your treasure is. People usually bring out their family photos.
Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of them. And to my surprise, it isn't. It's a piece of newspaper.
Newspaper,
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Is that today's newspaper?
Well, it's actually about
it
3 months old.
Okay.
But, this is what I use these days almost every day.
And what do you do with it?
This is actually doing a magic.
Really?
I was trying to entertain, when I go see the students. And about a couple of months ago, I actually did a party at home. And one of the guests, I didn't invite directly, but he was a magician. And he showed me this magic. I said, wow, this is it. I want to learn. And actually paid about $1,000 to learn 3 magics.
Wow.
And this is one. And I use all the time toward the end of my, lectures and to entertain them. After that, I keep a couple of, singing a couple of songs and getting a standing ovation.
Wow.
And that's why I end my shows.
Will we be able to see your magical performance then?
Of course you do.
Okay.
I'd like to show it to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
That was truly amazing. How long did it take you to learn that?
Well, it's been a couple of months, so getting better and better now, and I perform almost, every day.
Does that make you nervous? Because when you make a mistake, it ends up being not
first
magic.
few times, but I'm kind of used to it.
I looked very closely, and it's
Sure.
amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
I would actually like to know what the secret is behind that trick.
You know, I pay $1,000. At least you buy me something for
Okay.
dinner or something.
Okay. When we let our audience know that there was going to be you on our show, that we had a lot of questions coming in through
Is that
our
right?
Twitter account. So
Okay.
we're going to take a look at some of the questions that was sent in by our viewers around the
Okay,
world. Let's
sure.
see.
Let's take a look at it.
The first one was, rich people in Korea rarely donate their money. What do you think the reasons are?
Well, I think the first generations, let's say, who built the today's Korea, and they probably started out of nothing, out of scratch. So it probably took a really hard, job to get to where they are. Probably as a parents, they don't want to see their children, going through the same hardships. So probably they want to give as much as to their children. But on the contrary, in the United States, and those entrepreneurs who built from scratch, they think it could may work as a poison to their children because it deprives of, reasons for accomplishments. And I don't know, without that, I don't know you can really happy, because if you don't really accomplish something you own or some purpose of life, what's the purpose of life, right? Doing something you own. So that's why they give a very little to the kids, and then they, give the rest to the society. And that's what a lot of poor people these days complain about, not much of sharing and each other with rich and poor. And hopefully, it could change.
Yeah,
And,
hopefully Korea will
that's
change.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the second question. What words of advice would you give to people who may be struggling with finding a job?
Wow.
Yeah, this seems
That's
like it's an
very-
issue in
It's issue
around
and
the
very
world.
tough, and even the United States for the youngsters, and they are in late 20s or early 30s. About 25% don't have jobs. So in here in Korea, it could be worse, but we have to still find something to do. But in jobs, when I actually went to the United States, I was happy making $2.75 an hour and doing laborious work. So we got to start somewhere. I know there's plenty of jobs. You can start from, it's could be a very humble job, but you start from there, and then you start to look for what else I could do, right? To establish a little better life. So look for from that, rather than saying, "Oh, this is not what I want. This is not what I don't." And there's only few things everybody wants. That's where you find it very hard to find. So I want them to really start from scratch, and just like me, right? Start somewhere.
Okay. Don't complain too much about how small your job is, but maybe start doing something and then grow from there.
That's right.
The advice. Okay. You decided to not give much of your inheritance to your children, but instead you want to rather give this other thing to your children, which is?
Well, children, I just want them to be become a healthy individual with a healthy mind, and as long as they're happy with it. Interesting, kids are growing up in the States. They're not that greedy. They're really looking for a lot, and they're happy with, little apartments and with, things to do. And so I think they're probably growing with different environments that people always looking for more money, and, work, and they're always looking for the balance of, life and work. And so, as long as they're happy, and where the happiness come from, they're all different.
Okay.
You know, if you think that conglomerate, which is a chaebol, you think they're happy. I don't think so. I don't find any chaebol is happy today. Because too much money and too much things around, and it's just really headaches for them. So I've got to think of where the happiness comes from, and go after those.
I have 2 questions left now before
Sure.
we wrap up our interview. This is a question that I was recently asked by one of my friends, and it kind of threw me off, and it got me thinking.
Sure.
What aspects of yourself do you like the most?
Aspects of myself. Wow.
That makes you think.
Wow,
Right?
I see. Well,
Well, what about yourself do you like the most about yourself?
Well, I'm just healthy, young-looking, and students that like me, and they always feel that that I'm kind of person be comfortable with, and spends the time with, and so on. So probably the way I look and the way I am and all that.
So it's the attitude that you have that makes you who you are. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You've accomplished a lot of things in your life, but if there's anything that you still want to go at, what would that goal be? That's my last question.
I think I got too much of it, compared to many others, and I'm amazed that I came to this far. And even today, I told you, I'm really probably the happiest moments in my life. Because, what I could do today without the past, all my poverties and, hardships in Americas and startups and establishing some, with all that, probably I'm not going to be here, what I'm doing it. I'm not doing what I'm doing here today. So I really can't ask much more. And if I say to the audiences, probably say, you're too much. So I don't want to say any furthers.
All right. Thank you so very much for joining us today, and
Sure.
Happy New Year to you.
Oh,
and thank
sure.
you very much for giving us a copy of your book. All the audience member will go home with a copy of your
Sure.
book. Best of luck to you, and hope to have you come on our show again next time soon.
Will do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I really enjoyed it. Okay, thank you so
Thanks.
much.
You can rewatch today's interview with Chairman Steve Kim on our Arirang webpage. Thank you very much for joining us, and be sure to join us again next time. 감사합니다.